Hey everyone, welcome back to Eden Awaits. We're so glad that you are joining us today. We are wrapping up season 2 with 2 Q&As. So you can expect next episode to be a Q&A as well. And we're just going to continue our discussion on relationships. If you haven't checked out our first 5 episodes, you're going to want to, because maybe there are questions that we're going to answer today that we're not going to answer today that we did cover in the first few episodes. So if there's anything that you're specifically curious about, head over to those, check those out. But without further ado, we're just gonna hop right into question 1. I can read all the questions. I can do that.
Perfect.
Okay. First question is this. I kind of we'll talk through singleness, dating, marriage, friendship. Okay. First question. What do you do while you're waiting?
Cry.
I'm just kidding. Everybody clicks off.
They're like, bye. I'm just kidding. No. I think that something that has really helped me in the waiting is realizing I'm not waiting alone. And so I definitely rely on scripture. I know that we both have really stood on the same scripture if you want to read it.
Yeah. Psalm 27:14, it says, wait and hope for and expect the Lord. Be brave and of good courage, and let your heart be stout and enduring. Yes, wait for and hope for and expect the Lord. The Amplified is always a little more detailed. Do you want to talk about the verse or me?
You can talk about it.
Yeah, I like this verse because I think for me it's I think what to do in the waiting, to answer the question, is to have expectancy from the Lord, to the Lord, for the Lord. Yeah. Expect from the Lord. And I think there's like the practical side to what you can do while you're waiting, which is like, to me, leaning into relationship with God, self, and friends. And to me, leaning into God also doesn't just look like cultivating like a rich relationship with him, but I think also that's where the expectancy comes in. Yeah. And so for me, like waiting on a spouse, I don't want to wait like begrudgingly. I don't know if that's the right word, bitterly. And so I think having an expectancy with the Lord is also what helps cultivate hope in your life. And so for me, leaning into relationship with God creates space for God to speak and give me the God winks. And then leaning into relationship with self, and that can, like it's a whole separate thing, but I think that looks like allowing the Lord to show you areas that you need to work on, showing you areas that you maybe need to heal in, or just getting to learn more about yourself. I think that's something that I've really got to do in singleness, is like understand who I am. Yeah. And then relationship with friends. You get to grow really, really great relationship with your friends in that time. It's not that you can't do that when you're married, but you definitely have a lot more time while you're single. And so all of that for me kind of goes back to expectancy with the Lord.
When I think also when you realize no season is wasted, I love the verse that's actually right before the verse she read in Psalm 27. It's 13. I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord. And so something that's really helped me is, okay, if I am fearing so much and I'm trying to rush ahead and control the situation, it's probably because I lost my trust and hope that whatever I'm waiting on, God actually has. Mm-hmm. And I just shifted my mindset of like, okay, God, prepare my heart for whatever it is you have for me. And so when I shifted from, gosh, why do I have to wait? There's no reason for this waiting season to, oh, you're actually preparing something in me for whatever I'm going to be able to walk through. And maybe whatever God is going to bring into your life, he's preparing that person or that job or whatever it may be you're waiting on. So maybe it's not even you, but either way, he knows how to align the perfect timing for it all.
Yeah. Literally this morning I was praying because it just comes in waves. And I think this question is talking about singleness, but I think we're all waiting on something. And maybe right now it's a relationship, but next season you're going to be waiting on the next thing. Mm-hmm. And I think you said it best, like prepare my heart. And something I literally prayed this morning was, God, slow my heart. Mm-hmm. And I think because we just have a tendency to want to get ahead of God. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this in episodes before, that when you do that, you just set yourself up to be discontent. And so that's something I have to come back to like regularly, is like, slow me down. Like when I am trying to rush, like help me like by your strength to slow my pace.
Yeah.
And so where there's an area that you're tempted to get ahead of God, I think that's just a practical way, is just to ask him for that. Cause I know I don't have the strength to do it on my own.
For me, Ecclesiastes, how do you say it?
Ecclesiastes.
I don't know why I was like,
You got it.
I know. 3:1 has been something that I've been standing on, and I like that you touched on. We're always going to be waiting for something, and I like at the title it says a time for everything, and it says there's a season, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight, an event or purpose under heaven. And I've been standing on this scripture because back in April I had this major surgery. Long story short, the doctor was like, hey, moving forward, if you have children, you'll have to have a cesarean, a C-section. And God spoke to me, when women have a C-section, those are scheduled, appointed deliveries. And what God spoke to me was that you don't have to worry that you're going, when women have regular labors, it's that like, my due date's this date, but it could come this, it could, and God's like, you don't have to worry that you're going to be in this confusion of is it going to come now? Is it not? You can know that there's an appointed time for what I'm going to do. And as you read on, it goes on a time to born, like it goes on, there's a time for everything. And in that you can rest assured that God's going to release the exact moment of the exact thing you need at the appointed time, and you're not going to miss it. It's not going to be delayed, and you're not going to be unprepared for it, or you're not going to be like at the appointed time. God knows all the things that he has for our life.
That's good.
I love that.
Okay, number 2, what wisdom do you have for the girl that has never been in a relationship? Girl or guy?
It's good.
You're doing it. Way to go.
Yeah.
You're so holy.
Yeah.
And I mean that so seriously. I'm not trying to like sound sarcastic. Like, I personally think that's the best way to do it.
I think so too. I think, one, I honor you because I know I didn't wait because I was trying to get ahead of the Lord. And I dated a lot of different people, and I had to actively walk through that past pain that I was left with. And so you are doing such a great job of protecting your heart. And so you are going to step into, when God brings this person into your life, you're going to step into that hole and be able to give him what not everyone can come into a relationship with.
Yeah, it made me think of, when we always say, I wish I was a kid again. And what we're actually saying is, I wish I still had that part of me that wasn't always worried about the responsibilities or the pain or the things. And in some ways, the best place to be is the place that you're in right now, because you don't have the pain or the experiences or anything to compare to, that when that time does come, when it is time for you to be in a relationship, that it's just going to be, and not that it may be all perfect, but you won't have the remembrance of anything prior.
One piece of advice I would give you is something my counselor actually recently told me, is run after what God has for you as fast as you can. And you're not going to need to look behind you. Don't look too far in front of you. But when you look to the left and to your right, you're going to see people. And those are the people that God brought into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another piece of advice I would give you is just to stand firm in waiting for the right person, because I think there's also the like culture's way of doing everything is like, okay, well, maybe since I haven't gotten into a relationship yet, I should try to manufacture it in my own way, whatever that looks like. I think that's different for everyone. And so I think just stand firm and don't worry about, everyone's going to have an opinion on how you should date or how you should pursue a spouse or be pursued. Everyone's going to have an opinion. I think you've probably already like allowed God to lead you to this point. Keep letting God lead you to your spouse. And I would just stand firm in that. Everyone's going to have an opinion. Everyone's going to tell you how you should, how you shouldn't. And I think there's wisdom from that, but also God's voice, let that be the ultimate voice that's leading you. Okay, number 3, how would you say that you know when someone is the one?
Ooh, this is a good question.
This is juicy.
So when you know, right? That's what everyone always says. But I think that that's really true. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You just know. Like, and once you find the one, you'll be like, oh, that's what everyone meant when they said that. Like, yeah, it does make sense. Like, you just know. Your heart knows, your spirit knows. Your mind may be like, what the heck is happening? But like, you just know. And I think that a good practical way of knowing that is like just praying and asking the Lord, like, is this the right person for me? Is this the one? And if you have that foundation already set with the Lord, that you are talking to him and you do hear his voice, that won't be a difficult conversation to have, because he'll tell you yes or no. You know,
That's good.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that literally sums it up. I remember a month after I met Thomas, we were at the zoo together, and I was watching him, and I had this thought of, I could do this for the rest of my life. And that freaked me out. It's like the spirit, the heart knows, but my mind was like, And so the Lord is good to show you those things and to give you peace. And I love that God is a God of peace and not confusion. And there was never a moment with Thomas that I felt, the only time I felt confused is when I was running from it and trying to run away from the peace was so peaceful that it scared me, because I had never felt peace like that in my life. And so I think God is good to give that affirmation, and not just in peace, but in so many other ways. And so, when you know, you know.
Yeah. I remember asking you guys this question actually before, and Tara, and I wanted to know more. I was like, no, but like really, like how am I supposed to know? Like you just know? I need more than that. And Tara, you had mentioned something that helped me understand how I would just know.
She remembers.
No, I remembered because it really did help me. I had dated somebody who on paper, like we matched up perfectly. And really, it seemed like a really good person that would be the person you'd want to marry, right? But on the inside of me, something always felt like there was something missing, but it didn't make sense. Like I didn't know how to explain it. When I would try and talk to people about it, they'd be like, "Oh, you're just being dumb," or whatever it would be. They would dismiss it, right? And when Tara was like, "Ashley, you knew something was missing. You couldn't explain it." What they're saying is when it is the right person, you're not going to have that feeling. Like you're just going to be able to be like, "No, there's peace in this," all the things. And so that really helped me.
It's good. Good job, Tara.
Yay, great, Tara.
Okay. This is another juicy one. The next question is, explain the code word myth. And the code word myth, if you don't know, is, I think it's a trend on TikTok and maybe Instagram too. When you ask God in your own season of singleness, you ask God to give you a code word that then when you meet your future spouse, they too will give you that code word, thus affirming that this is your future spouse. So this person said, explain the code word myth. Do you actually believe God would do that? Who wants to take it?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I do think God would do that. I think God will confirm something if you ask. And when we were kind of talking about this question, I felt like the Lord brought to remembrance Judges 6, when the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon and tells him all these things, and Gideon's like, what? And he starts to doubt, but he asks the Lord to send him a sign. And like, if you go and read it, it's actually a really beautiful part of Gideon's story, but he lays out this fleece and he asks the Lord, like, hey, if this is it, I don't know which order it goes in, but he's like, make the fleece wet, not the ground. And then the next day he's like, make the ground wet, not the fleece. And the Lord does that for him. And we see all through the Bible, there's these signs, and people ask for the Lord to show them things, and he always comes through. He always will. But again, kind of like I said earlier, it goes back to having that foundation with the Lord. And especially in this day and age, like new age spirituality is like really becoming popular, and a lot of people are intrigued by it, but it's counterfeit. And so if you're asking God to show you a code word, but you don't have that established relationship with him, it's not going to be God giving you that code word, and you're going to end up in a relationship that you shouldn't be in. So I think it is important, make sure you're right with God first before you start asking for signs or before you start wanting code words. And honestly, this is just my own 2 cents. A code word is cute, and that's really nice. But when it comes to like your future spouse, like having it be something like, he has a certain favorite color, or he says something about strawberries. Like, that sounds really shallow to me. I'm just
like,
saying,
the wrong guy can still say it and just happen to say it.
Yes. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, I think instead of asking God for a code word, like, ask God to show you, like, show me this thing of this man at the zoo. Give me a feeling that I could be with him forever. Like, those are the things those are the signs you should be asking God for. Mm-hmm. Show me when I'm dating him, how he interacts with children. What kind of father is he going to be? Show me when I'm dating her that I can trust her to be my helpmate and to not gossip about me with her girlfriends. Like, those are the things that you need to be asking God for signs, not a code word.
I think
that's my own 2
cents. But
I
think what you're saying is we all believe God can do that. Yeah. Like, we 100% believe God can give you a word. God can give you a sign, miracle, wonder. Absolutely. I think we should ask ourselves, why do I want this code word? Because I think realistically, the code word feels like the easy way out. Yeah. That the minute I meet my husband, he's going to give me this word, and great, I guess we can get married tomorrow because I already know you're my husband.
It's just like that.
We want that, like, we're the microwave generation. Mm-hmm. Like, we want things to be fast and instantaneous. And so I love, Hailey, that you didn't just shut it down, but you give, like, kind of a different route of, like, maybe I do again think God can give you a code word. I don't think it's the most realistic route to go. Mm-hmm. I think if that's all you're seeking in it, then you probably will get it, and I hope it will work out for you. But I think there should be maybe more depth to it. Yeah. I would challenge you in that.
I agree with both of you. I think also with a code word, if that is your only reason for marrying them, then you don't have a strong enough foundation. And so on the hard times, because there will be hard times in marriage, are you just gonna, like, walk away and leave? Or
yeah. Well, I would even think that y'all probably have tons of God winks in meeting your spouse, but that's not just the only, like, I think there's depth in having a word from God, not a code word, but like you said at the zoo, and Hailey, like you just mentioned, like, you've got that direct connection with the Lord that was clear to you. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like, he said chocolate, and you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all probably had tons of little God things and little things. Oh my gosh, I remember I had this and he said it, and like, there's probably tons of that, but you also got just a word from God, or a feeling from God, or a knowing from God. I think that should carry you, not just like, well, he also said this word that I wrote in my journal. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just got to be more to it. This is the biggest decision of your life.
I feel like it really does leave really big areas for the enemy to come in and be like, were you really supposed to marry that person?
Right.
Oh, he just said the code word. He wasn't really for you. Yes. Yeah. And so I do think that the more practical way is getting an actual word from God.
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Okay. What is one piece of wisdom that you would tell a couple who is engaged and about to be married?
Ooh. We'll look at the married people over here.
Do you want to go first?
That's a really good one. I think if I could go back and tell myself, I was engaged, 2 months ago? I think, what did you say earlier? What was it?
Slow my heart.
Slow my heart. I would say that. I think it's so exciting to be in the engagement season that it's just like we said, when you're in a waiting season, you're always going to be waiting for the next thing. And so really, if I could go back and tell engaged self me, it would be to slow down, because I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was you that told me, or no, it was a friend, and she was talking about the relationship she's in, and obviously she wants to get married, but she told me, she was like, you know what? She was like, he'll never just be your boyfriend again. And then once he's your fiance, he'll never, and you're married, he'll never just be your fiance. And there's so many things that I think we miss the beauty of one season because we're running to the next one. That there's times where now being married that I'm like, man, when we were engaged, like, all we looked forward was to this one thing. And now when we're married, sometimes it's easy to forget that season of sweetness when we were engaged. And so my advice would be to slow your heart. Is that what you said?
Slow down.
Just slow down in general. And I don't even know if that's just for engagement, but just in all areas, because that I maybe that's because that's what God's working on me right now. But just to indulge in every single season, but especially that sweet engagement season.
I feel like I would give, I don't know why, but my very first thought is take walks together. I know that's so stupid, but for me and Colby, that's been like the number one thing that has helped us in our marriage, because when you're on a walk, you're not walking and looking at your phone, so you're undistracted. Even if you have children, throw them in the stroller, and normally kids will like sit calmly in the car or in the stroller. But if you're having a disagreement, you can talk it out, but you're not talking at each other. You're talking with each other. You're moving towards the same location, which I think even in the spiritual is like doing something, because you're walking towards the same place. You're on the same path. You're going towards the same goal. And so that would be my advice. If you walk together every day, it's opening the floor to have those conversations. This may be even like TMI, but if you can't take a walk together, take a shower together, because it's kind of the same thing. You're not gonna. I'm so serious. Oh, engaged. Oh, just kidding. Well, like once you get married, take showers together.
This whole time I was like, it's such an interesting thing to tell an engaged couple, but it still applies.
It's like.
But you're telling them when they're married.
Yeah, once you're married.
I am tracking now. I was like, okay. And then I was like, shower.
That's so bad.
I don't think either one of us would have said anything. And I was like, wait.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm so glad
she's
you
saying
said
like
that.
while you're engaged, take walks, and then into your marriage. And then I was like,
Once you're into your marriage, once you're married, this is a good thing to do. Like,
yes.
yeah.
No, it's okay.
Cut it.
No, it's good.
That was good.
It's good.
Okay, next question.
Okay, wait. I have something to say to that.
Oh, go ahead.
Also, being a photographer, one thing I was thinking about when I shoot a lot of engagement sessions, one thing I'll say is, how's the planning going? And what they always say is, we're just ready to get this over with. And so it almost has made me now going through a season of engagement, and we just got married with our pastors. And so we didn't do the actual wedding planning part. But what I've realized in photographing so many couples is that the stress of the if you are doing like a traditional big wedding, sometimes overshadows the sweetness of the season. And it does feel like, with all the check things and to-do lists, that we're just trying to get to the next thing. And then you look back and you're like, I actually hated that last season with you, because we couldn't decide on the color of napkins, or my future mother-in-law was always down my neck. And so I think my advice too would just to be focused on one another as you're preparing to come into this season. Because even when my husband now and I were deciding on, do we wait to have a wedding, or do we just do this what we feel like we should do? And we knew that because we were trying to plan all these people to be there, and we knew that if we set the tone of our marriage to constantly wait of like, when my mom could be there, when my dad could make it, when my sister could make it, we were also setting the tone for our marriage that it wasn't just going to be about us. It was also going to be about a lot of other people. And so in that engagement season, whether you're going to just do it courthouse or plan the wedding, to not forget one another.
Mm-hmm.
That is good.
That is good.
Next question. What would you say if you didn't particularly care for your spouse's close friend?
So
Bye.
I would pray about it. I feel like that's always my first answer. Pray about it, seek the Lord. But I like pray for your spouse to have wisdom and discernment and good judgment when it comes to that person. Colby had a friend for a season that I just didn't feel like was making him better and like pointing him more towards who God had designed him to be. And I just remember like having that thought, but I never said anything to him about it. That friendship eventually fizzled out. And I feel like this doesn't just apply to your spouse. It can apply to like anyone that you love. If there's someone that's in their life that you're not particularly a fan of, like, one, I would see like, what's the reasoning? Like if you hate somebody because of your own reasons, then maybe ask God to help you forgive that person or whatever. But if there's no real reason other than just like they're not the best kind of friend for them, then yeah, pray about it. And I really think God will pull people out of their lives if it's not meant to be a friendship or like a union that points to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think like praying wisdom over your spouse, but in my head I'm thinking just generally if it's a friend or a cousin or whatever, that God would give them the wisdom and the discernment to see and also the eyes to see. And I think too, like I'm speaking still generally, like because I've been in friendships where I'm like, how are you friends with that person? You know? And sometimes, like Hailey was saying, it's my own thing. Like, I've got to let something go with that person, or I just have I don't connect well with that person.
Right.
But maybe the friend that you're looking out for, maybe they see something in that person, you know? So it's hard. So I think praying, gosh, that person would be given the wisdom to know how to walk out that situation. And then I think that's where you can rest, is knowing God's going to take care of that. You know what I mean? For them.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Our last question for this first episode of our Q&A is, how have you handled unspoken expectations? And this is in friendships. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can go with anything.
Yeah, you're right.
The first thing I would do is speak them. That's the problem, is that they're unspoken. Like, no one can read your mind. No one can do things that you want them to do if you're not communicating that expectation, or even just like verbalizing the things that you want, you know? I think that
I feel like
make it spoken.
Yeah, I feel like we all like can probably agree. Even in our friendship, we probably over communicate more than we under communicate. Like I can think of times I'm like, I should just apologize just in case that came off the wrong way, you know, or like rather than, oh, I'll just hold that back. And then I didn't know for 3 days you've been upset with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which then also comes back to that person has to voice it. But I think I would rather just over communicate something rather than leave out the details or leave out like certain things. Does that make sense? And I think that applies to literally any relationship, like even like work, like relationships, like just over communicate, like say the things that you're like, maybe I don't need to say that. You probably do. They're probably sitting there wondering about it. So I think you can't really go wrong with just being honest. Like most things can be resolved with a conversation.
When I think you have to remember too, people have different upbringings. Not everyone was raised with the same expectations or with the same values or with the same standards. And so verbalizing like, hey, I would love if you would do this, that is okay. And that's healthy.
Yeah.
You're just going to sit in that anger if you don't say anything.
Or opposite end, hey, it kind of hurts my feelings when you say this. I know you're probably just joking, but that's a sensitive area for me, you know? And then you save yourself so much heartbreak or disappointment or like anger towards this person. They didn't know that it was a sensitive area for you, you know? Like, and it can be, I mean, the most lighthearted things sometimes feel like, oh, why would you say that to me? And they're like, oh, we just say that in my family, you know? Like, so I think taking into account, like we all are raised different. We all joke differently. We say things differently, like, you know, things like that. So I think just talk.
Give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Anything anyone wants to add?
No, I think that's so good.
All right. This is like the
was
fastest
fun.
episode we've ever
But
done.
also, our other episodes kind of were like this build up to these.
Yes. So if there's things that we didn't answer, y'all can always shoot us a DM. We love reading y'all's DMs. We love interacting with you guys. You can also drop a comment. We're always reading literally every comment that comes in, unless they're mean. I just don't even look at them. But with all that being said, thank you for watching, and make sure you stay tuned. In 2 weeks, we'll have our part 2 to our relationship Q&A. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us here on YouTube. We love you.
At Eating Awaits.
Yeah, at Eating Awaits. Sorry. We love y'all. We'll see y'all next
Love
week.
y'all.
Next 2 weeks.